But let's move on to the good stuff. I want to talk about some numbers here. Numbers are my friends, and I love talking numbers. But as the old adage goes, if you can measure it, you can manage it. If you're not measuring it, you're probably not going to be able to manage it. But I'd like to add to this quote that if you can manage it, you can improve it, and you can improve it constantly. As long as you're measuring it, you can, in fact, manage whatever the process is. Just as a fun little note, when I was putting this slide together, I heard that this quote came from Peter Drucker, and I tried to actually find out if that was true, and it turns out that I've got 12 people that are attributed to having said this, so I'm not really sure that it was something I needed to put in quotes, because I think it's common knowledge these days. I think it's what they classify it as. But moving on, just like in life, we have choices when we're trying to decide what metrics we should use. And it's kind of like deciding what kind of fruit to add to your diet when your doctor says you need to eat more fruit. You can eat an apple and you can eat an orange, and it doesn't matter which one you choose. But you can't just choose one and say, I'm going to go with an apple, eat it one time, and call it good. That's like a one-off project. That's just not enough. Especially when the health is down, when the economy is down, we need to be really consistent and diligent in taking care of ourselves and taking care of our programs. At the same time, it doesn't matter what measurement you decide to use. If you want to use return, if you want to use response, it doesn't matter. Just be consistent. That's the most important thing. And also, try not to eat fruit that look like this. Try not to use metrics that are confusing. Try not to use different metrics for different efforts. The conclusion here is you should use real, well-defined, tried-and-true metrics and be consistent about it, and never, ever, ever eat funky fruit. So needless to say, there are a few metrics that we can choose from, and some units I know use numbers like the cost to acquire or customer acquisition cost metric, which is the amount that you spend in printing and staff costs and mailing, etc., to get one registration. And that's a very useful metric, and we've used it as well. But I'm a big fan of the ROI, and I'd like to tell you why. Among your friends, ROI is like the really deep, profound one, the one that's, in big groups of people, the one that's really misunderstood and never really gets along with other people. It's the most misunderstood metric, and it's so simple, but it's so deep at the same time. You'll have friends like that, I'm sure. You know what I'm talking about. People talk about this person all the time, but they just don't realize, there's more to it. People just don't realize there's more to the ROI. The ROI is a simple ratio. It's the amount of money you brought in minus how much you spent trying to bring that money in divided by the cost. It's a simple ratio, and it just gives you a percentage, and people usually settle with that. But what's interesting about it is that this metric can tell you so much more. It can tell you good from bad, and it can provide you with a little extra information, a threshold for defining what a good marketing activity is, those being lucrative ones, and bad activities, the ones that are not profitable enough. Not just that you're losing money on, but that aren't profitable enough for your standard. It also means that you can determine what a program should call good ROI and bad ROI. It's not just at your whole marketing division level. It's at individual program level, because it's based on revenue goals and marketing goals. It's really that simple. And using this, the ROI is going to tell us how many catalogs we should send, because we're just going to pick ROIs that we define as being good activities. It's really that simple. And this is a good metric to use, especially in these times, because the ROI, improving ROI means improving profitability. And what that means is making more money and spending less money at the same time. So this metric, more now than ever, is incredibly critical to building our processes and to improving our marketing. So this little metric, and we'll talk a little bit more about it later, where I actually lay out the smart mailing list, is so widely referred to and quoted, is actually a wellspring of good decision making, and I'll show you guys how such a simple number can do so much for us. But before that, I want to share a little history with you guys. Here's the example. This is one of my first projects when I began working for JMH, and this is a lot of work went into this, and I decided that quarter after quarter it just wasn't worth it to do it the same way. And from this is where the smart mailing list came from work that started a few years ago. But to set the stage, everybody knows catalogs are expensive, and they're becoming more expensive because postal rates are going up, printing costs are increasing. A catalog that was 35 cents 2 years ago is about 50 cents today for us here in Atlanta. Quality expectations are increasing because people who receive the catalogs are expecting them expecting to be more impressed by it every time. And even if your catalogs aren't getting better all of the time, competitors are. And competitors not just being people that deliver classes, not just continuing education units, but anything that's drawing their attention, anything that people are going to look at. There's so much more that's going on, and the quality expectation is really rising in our customers. So it's important that we really improve it, and making improvements like that is going to make the printing cost go up. In addition to the money, I'm sure you guys are all familiar that catalogs are a giant time sink. Completing one quarterly for a moderate team can take 2 weeks to complete your quarterly catalog, and I mean, that's just a lot of work. Yeah, if Learn's 75% of revenue comes from your brochure is true, you know, shouldn't your team be spending time on doing other things as well? It's a huge undertaking, and we all feel that. In addition to think about how much time is spent on it, think about how many little mistakes that go into that thing that just get printed and shipped off to, you know, tens upon tens of thousands of people. It's a big deal. So a long time ago at Emory, we asked ourselves who should receive a catalog. This is Emory's model for sending out catalogs, and they came up with a couple of parameters for determining likely candidates. And they said, well, we want people that are close, that can come to our classes, that is like this bubble shows, that live within 10 miles of campus. It makes sense. We don't want to send catalogs to people who we don't want to inconvenience them with coming to our classes. At the same time, we want them to have a 4-year degree, because as we know, they're more likely to come and buy our classes from us. So we want to make sure we are sending to zip codes in which there's a majority of the people have 4-year degrees. And on top of that, we want to make sure that the household that we're sending a catalog to can afford our programs. So, you know, they set up a little threshold here, and every household that makes over this certain threshold is going to get this catalog. When you put these three together, when you add them up, you get what anybody would call a likely candidate, right? Well, we looked at the numbers, and I looked at the numbers. We looked at the numbers a long time ago, and we decided that we were really unhappy with the result. In several areas we were sending catalogs, we were losing money. And in other cases, we really weren't doing as well as we had thought. So we decided to start making a fitter catalog.